Hi, my name is Chandana Chitraleka, and this is my video for the U3A3 What is an Average Teenager Activity. My group members for this activity were 2 girls and 2 boys. The 2 girls consisted of me, a 14-year-old, and Harika, an 18-year-old. The 2 boys consisted of Prakash, a 16-year-old, and Rohan, a 13-year-old. We wanted a little bit of diversity in our group, so we had the gender differences. The basic gist of our discussion throughout the duration of this project was going through Dewey's system and really analyzing each question so that we could answer it in the appropriate way. Basically, what we did was, for the first step, the problem, we decided that our problem was that we have to decide which of the candidates that we were given are most like an average teenager and will meet the expectations of the president of the third world country. Our criteria, which is the second step, was that we have to set the standards for what we feel is an average teenager. The main standards that we set for our criteria was that we have to look at their grades, we have to look at their extracurriculars, their social reputation, their passions, and those are basically what we looked at for criteria. The third step was to look at the problems that might occur when an average teenager meets a high-ranking political figure. We came up with 2 problems that we feel would happen if an average teenager met with a high-ranking political figure. The first problem was disrespect. The average teenager might become rebellious and disrespect the high-ranking political figure, either verbally or non-verbally. Another problem that might occur is that they might not have a mutual understanding, meaning that the average teenager might not understand everything that the high-ranking political figure is saying because either of an education communication barrier or some other kind of communication barrier. And that can be vice versa also. We felt like even the high-ranking political figure might not understand what the average teenager has to say. The fourth step we did was choosing the candidates we felt really represented the average teenager look we were going for. The 2 candidates we chose were Chloe Hellman and Jacob Jones. Chloe Hellman, we felt, represented an average teenager because she had a C grade average, and even though that might not seem that good in academic wise, she actually has a lot of extracurriculars like the drill team and drama, and that really makes it difficult for her to have time to study or understand the material given in class. And that's a common problem for teenagers today, making her an average teenager. Another thing that makes her relatable to teenagers today is that she has financial problems in her house, and that's causing her to have limitations college-wise. And financial problems is another big problem in teenagers' homes today. So she's relatable to teenagers in that format as well. Another problem she has is that she has another characteristic she has is that she is well liked and she has a boyfriend, which is another relatable characteristic in average teenagers today. We also thought she would be a good choice because she's taking the president to a football game, and football is a popular sport that average teenagers play as well in the country. So we thought it would be a new and fun experience for the president. Our next choice, Jacob Jones, we also thought was a fitting representation of an average teenager. The first thing was that Grades-wise, he was the same as Chloe Hellman, but he didn't have as many extracurriculars to balance his grades out. So this is why he was our second choice and not our first choice, but yet he still has a C average that's evident in many average teenagers' grades today. Another characteristic about him that makes him relatable to an average teenager is that he's well liked and he has a good sense of humor, which makes him quite popular amongst his peers and his teachers, and that can be found in average teenagers today. He also has a passion, which is recycling, and although other teenagers might not have his same passion, they do use he uses passion to help out his school, as do many other average teenagers. If they have a passion, they help out at their school, and they really try to make their passion something useful and are very productive about it. And he's also taking the president to a recycling center, and this recycling center, even though it's not a common place that average teenagers go to, we believe that his passion and enthusiasm about recycling, as he started that recycling project at the school, would really enlighten and empower the president in a very good way. And that's since he's a third world country president, he might be interested in doing something that he finds here in his country. We also thought that Jacob relates to an average teenager because of his automobile. He rides an automobile like many average teenagers today, making him, of course, an average teenager. Fifth, we had to evaluate our choices and choose the best candidate. We chose Chloe Hellman because we felt that Chloe Hellman demonstrated more of an average teenager than Jacob Jones. And the reason why we selected her instead of Jacob was that we thought that if we were going to choose a candidate to represent an average teenager, they needed to almost represent all of the aspects that are in an average teenager. And Chloe Hellman did, and Jacob Jones just didn't. Jacob Jones didn't because he wears earrings that isn't very common in average teenage boys. His mode of transportation is a motorcycle, and most teenagers drive cars nowadays, at least in America. And another thing was that he's very self-confident, and today we're finding that a lot of teenagers are going through have insecurities about little things or big things, and the fact that he's self-confident doesn't really make him an average teenager. But Chloe Hellman is most nearly to an average teenager because she has the grades that an average teenager does. She has the extracurriculars, and she also has a financial problem. She shows that an average teenager doesn't only have the good, but they also have the bad. She's likable, but she also faces problems, and that shows she's all-rounded. She's all-rounded in the aspect that she's an average teenager. Sixth, we had to find a way to carry and test the solution. We had to see if Chloe actually is a good choice. We were having some difficulty in coming up with this, meaning that we spent more than half an hour trying to find the correct way to do that, find and test our solution. But we did find two ways. We found one way where we could do a trial run before the president came and maybe give a sense of what might happen when the president comes. So basically, a higher power within the school, such as the principal or the dean or a counselor, can follow Chloe or the student chosen around the school as the president would do, and take notes on what she shouldn't and what she should do when that president comes. Another thing that we thought would be a good way to test our solution was if they did a school-wide survey, meaning this includes teachers, counselors, students, everyone. And we would ask two questions. What is your idea of an average teenager? And do you feel that the choice we selected goes along with your idea of an average teenager? And then that can maybe bring the school some sense of, okay, this student is okay for the president or isn't. So basically now I'll talk about how my group members contributed throughout the discussion. So let's start with Harika. Harika is very shy, and she didn't really contribute as much, but at the beginning of the discussion she really went for it, and she made sure that we had a lot of information in each of our steps, and she analyzed each candidate for 5 or 6 minutes and went all out at the beginning. But towards the end, our group could see that she was getting scared, disinterested, or something of the sort, and I think that sort of contributed to how I rated my group in the group evaluation. So Prakash, he was like Harika, but he did contribute a little more, and he was very creative. He was the one who came up with the ways we could test our solution. We were all speechless, because Prakash was able to do it, but we weren't able to say anything because the creativity wasn't really evident, but he was the one who encouraged the creativity and brought it to life. Rohan, he was, I think, the best group member because he stayed dedicated to the project all the way through. He was the one who made sure he second-checked, he made sure everything was in line, and even though I was the one who told him about the project, he was the one who really went for it, and I really appreciate it. But the negative side was he wasn't really creative, he was more informational, but we needed both, and we got the creative side from Prakash and the informational side from Rohan. Me, as far as I go, I think that I contributed a little more at the end. Since Harika was doing such a good job at the beginning, I think I sort of laid back, and I regret that. I think I should have done more at the beginning. But overall, I think that my whole group did great, and the minor things we could change includes a little more participation, and we were trying to be as encouraging as possible, because some people in the group I feel like they felt a little alone, and they felt like they couldn't participate. But I want to make sure that next time I get in a group like this, I can really motivate people to get interested in what we were doing. But definitely Rohan he was interested. Harika, she contributed at the very beginning, and Prakash was the most creative person. And overall, I really hope I can do this again.